She had wandered through the vast halls of the council station for what felt like endless cycles. Her people, an alien race, known for their sharp intellect and strict hierarchy, had long made it clear that she was nothing more than background noise. Her ideas, her pleas, even her presence, they were ignored with a precision that made her feel almost invisible. She moved through corridors filled with towering figures whose gazes seemed to glide over her as if she were air. Every meeting she entered ended in polite nods that carried no substance. Every suggestion she made was dismissed as trivial, and every glance toward her from the counselors seemed to be weighed for amusement rather than respect. Her name was Lyra, though no one seemed to care to remember it. She had grown accustomed to the silence, the snide smiles behind her back, the murmured remarks she could not hear but could always sense. She spent years building herself, honing her skills, learning the intricacies of diplomacy, strategy, and science, all while being treated as if she were too small to matter. Yet, she persevered, not for recognition, not for reward. She persevered because she believed that one day, the world might actually see the value of someone who had been overlooked for too long. The council chambers were buzzing today, though not for her. A fleet of humans had arrived, docking with their sleek, silver warships that glinted under the artificial suns of the station. They moved with a quiet confidence, their manners curious yet calm, their expressions betraying a mix of curiosity and pride. The alien council whispered among themselves, their eyes flicking between the humans and Lyra with barely concealed excitement. Lyra, as usual, was ignored. The humans did not seem impressed by the council's pomp and ceremony. They made their way through the station with ease, their leader, a tall man with a steady gaze, observing everything without a hint of fear. Lyra found herself drawn to him, though she did not dare approach. The human spoke a language that was slightly rough, guttural in some places, yet she understood it through the translator and plants that all station residents carried. But more than the language, it was the confidence, the clarity in his tone, that caught her attention. Unlike her own people, who spoke in endless loops of protocol, he spoke with directness and a sense of purpose that made every word feel sharp and real. The council, noticing her glance, smirked behind their screens. "She looks interested," one whispered. "Perhaps she hopes the humans will notice her." How quaint. Lyra did not respond. She had learned long ago that words wasted on the indifferent were just that, wasted. But fate, or perhaps the humans themselves, had other plans. During the initial meetings, chaos erupted. A minor system malfunction in the station's core triggered alarms, sending sparks cascading down the walls. Counselors shouted over one another, each trying to claim authority over the crisis, while the humans remained calm. The tall human leader, without hesitation, stepped forward. With precise motions and sharp commands, he organized teams, stabilized the failing systems, and neutralized the immediate threat. The council was flustered, their authority undermined by a species they had long considered insignificant. And then he looked at her, not with the detached curiosity of the council, not with amusement, but with a calm, steady attention. He gestured toward her. "You," he said simply, "come with me. I need someone who understands the systems here." Every head in the chamber turned. The council gasped, muttering under their breaths. Lyra's heart pounded. She had not expected to be noticed, not like this, not so suddenly. Yet something deep inside her stirred. This was the moment she had unconsciously waited for, the chance to prove her worth, to show that her years of patience and preparation had not been wasted. Together, they descended into the maintenance corridors, Lyra explaining the intricacies of the station's core, the human listening intently. He asked questions, not for show, but with genuine curiosity, and when she answered, he nodded with understanding, sometimes even leaning slightly closer as if he valued her every word. Lyra had never felt anything like it. She had spent her life being invisible, yet here was a human treating her as if her knowledge, her presence, was invaluable. Hours passed. Sparks of plasma and flickering lights painted their surroundings in a surreal glow. Alarms had quieted, systems stabilized, and yet the energy between them remained charged. The humans moved with efficiency, but it was not just their technical skills that fascinated her, it was their respect for capability wherever it was found, without bias, without hierarchy dictating who deserved attention. Finally, they emerged into the chamber above, where the council still argued. The tall human leader faced them, turning his gaze on the gathered counselors. "The issue is resolved. Systems are stable. If you require guidance, this woman is highly skilled and should be consulted." Silence fell, a profound, uneasy silence. The council, who had dismissed Lyra for so long, could barely respond. Some tried to interject, some fumbled with protocols, but the humans ignored them, their leader's eyes never leaving hers. Lyra felt a rush of emotions: relief, pride, disbelief. For the first time in her life, she was being seen, not for her title, not for her family, not for her lineage, but for herself. Her skill, her knowledge, her presence, it mattered. From that day on, her life began to change. The council still struggled with their ingrained arrogance, but Lyra no longer sought their approval. She had seen a different standard, a species that valued ability over rank, insight over position. And slowly, the human's way began to influence her own people. She worked closely with the human leader, whose name was Daniel, learning not just about systems and strategy, but about communication, about how respect could be given without expectation, how leadership was not about dominance but about recognition of capability. Daniel listened, asked, and sometimes challenged her, but never dismissed her. Each interaction left her more confident, more willing to step into the space she had long been denied. The human's presence shifted the station's culture subtly but inevitably. Others began to notice her contributions, though some still resisted, unwilling to relinquish their biases. Lyra did not mind. She had learned that recognition was a luxury, but respect was earned through persistence, skill, and sometimes a little bit of luck. She had all three now. Weeks turned into months. Daniel and the human crew prepared to leave the station, their mission complete. The farewell ceremony was unlike any Lyra had ever attended. While the council clumsily offered formalities that felt empty, Daniel approached her quietly, away from the prying eyes of the alien hierarchy. "You've done well," he said simply. "Not because of me, but because you never stopped believing in your worth, even when everyone else ignored you. Remember that. Don't let anyone take it from you." Lyra nodded, a lump forming in her throat. "Thank you," she said, finding her voice steady despite the torrent of feelings inside her. "For seeing me." He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that carried warmth, respect, and understanding all at once. "It was easy. You were always worth seeing." As the human crew departed, leaving trails of light and engines humming in the void, Lyra felt a new sense of purpose settle in her. The council's disdain no longer weighed heavily on her shoulders. She moved through the station now with a quiet confidence, speaking, advising, and leading where she could, knowing that her value was inherent, not granted. Months later, when crises arose, Lyra's voice was sought out. When new technologies were tested, her expertise was requested. The human's influence lingered, a quiet reminder that recognition could exist without favoritism, that capability could outshine rank, and that one person could indeed make a difference if given a chance one day. Standing before a new cohort of young officers, Lyra recounted her story not for sympathy, not for praise, but to teach a lesson she had learned the hard way. "Never let anyone define your worth," she said. "The world will often ignore you. Some will even mock your presence. But when someone recognizes your value, embrace it, learn from it, and let it strengthen you. Your worth does not need validation from those who cannot see it." Her words carried far. They rippled through the station, shaping minds, attitudes, and the culture that had once been rigid and dismissive. Lyra had become more than just seen. She had become a symbol, a quiet beacon of change, and a reminder that sometimes all it takes is one person willing to treat another as though they truly matter. Years later, when humans returned to the station, Lyra was no longer the ignored observer. She walked among them with authority and respect, sharing strategies, advising commanders, and occasionally exchanging quiet smiles with Daniel, whose influence had shaped not just her life, but the lives of countless others who had once been overlooked. She understood now that recognition was not about waiting for others to see you, it was about building yourself so solidly, so undeniably, that your value could not be ignored. And when someone finally treated her like royalty, as if her worth had always been clear, it was not just a gift from them. It was a mirror reflecting the truth she had always carried within herself. For Lyra, being seen was no longer about validation. It was about realizing that even in a galaxy filled with indifference, one human's respect had the power to awaken a lifetime of strength, courage, and influence that no one could ever take away. And that, she decided, was